Imagine, if you will, a Mayflower wasp with relatives who signed the Declaration of Independence, contrasted with an ultra-loud, ultra-opinionated former New Jersey fitness personality. These two men committed in their convictions. As a matter of fact, I think one of them was convicted. Warning, everything you see and hear will most likely offend someone. This is The Two Rebels. Two Rebels.
Carrie Harrison here with you, along with Rocco Castellano, and we are the Two Rebels. Right, Rocco?
Three of us.
Yes, we are. And now three, because this is the original rebel that, I mean, I thought I was a big rebel, but this is literally the original. I think that he is rebel, tattooed on his arm.
Well, let me give the big introduction then to Harvey Wasserman. You can go to harveywasserman.com, Wasserman, harveywasserman.com. Solartopia is really where he's known for nowadays. Our Green-Powered Earth, introduced by Robert F. Kennedy Jr., Harvey Wasserman's History of the U.S., which was a book that Rocco read in school, it turns out. Right. A Glimpse of the Big Light, Losing Parents, Finding Spirit, introduced by Marianne Williamson. And his latest book is called America's Gay Pot-Smoking Founders and Their Fantastic Psychedelic Adventures with Thomas Paine, a novel, by the way. Dr. Harvey Wasserman, welcome so much to the Two Rebels.
Well, this is so much fun that, I think as you guys prove, there's nothing in life more fun than being a rebel. That is the root of all fun in life, and it's really fun to be with you guys.
Well, and the birth of this nation was literally rebellion. You told Fat George, look, buddy, you got to send immigrants here. And most people don't have any idea that was part of the beef in the Declaration of Independence, was the king wouldn't send worker bees and wanted lots of productivity. He loved the slavery, lots of productivity, but he wouldn't allow immigrants in. And they were like, so that's in the Declaration of Independence. Send me your immigrants. And now today it's like, immigrants? Why? They rape women and stuff. Totally different.
Donald Trump's grandfather was an immigrant, and he set up a bordello. So he fit right into your pattern now. And of course, Donald Trump's father was a mobster, totally tied into the Gambino and Genovese families in New York. So fine, upstanding citizens, both of them.
Yeah, they were my relatives too. So they were my relatives too.
That's good for you. Did you pour concrete on Trump Tower? Who's buried in the concrete in Trump Tower? That's what I want to know.
Well, no one that I actually know, but I can tell you, I have ties to the New Jersey mob, so.
There you go. Well, Donald Trump probably laundered some of your money. I mean, that was the only thing that
I can guarantee it.
Yeah, that's the only part of business that Donald Trump was ever good at was laundering money. And that's how he got through, that's how he became owned by Putin, is that Trump laundered all the mob money from Russia when the Soviet Union fell in the 80s and 90s. He was bankrupt. Trump was bankrupt like 4 times. He owed billions of dollars. And then, a week later, he's rich. And what happened was when the Soviet Union fell, all these guys came out of the Gulag and they had formed mob operations in the Gulag. And when they got out, they took over the country and all the untapped natural resources. They made themselves billionaires, but all their money was in rubles. And they wanted to come into the American economic system. They wanted dollars. So what did they find? They find a bankrupt heir to all this real estate that he killed in New York and New Jersey. And they laundered their money through Donald Trump's real estate. And suddenly he's flush with cash. So all these Russian mobsters basically own Trump. And then in 1999, when Putin comes in, he takes over the whole deal. And so Putin, there's not like a connection there. Putin owns Trump outright and has for 20 years.
Well,
so is this one of your new novels? Is this one of your new fictional novels that you just made?
No, this is actually, there's two reporters who have nailed this down, and you should have them on. David K. Johnston, who's from New York, and Craig Unger, who's in DC right now. David K. Johnston's book is aptly titled "It's Even Worse Than You Think," and Craig Unger's book is "House of Trump, House of Putin," and that's where this is all. I've met both of them, and that's the story of Donald Trump. It's amazing to me nobody tells it, but that's how he has his money. I mean, he inherited all that stuff from his father and completely ran it into the ground. And the only thing that saved him was the Russian, the money laundering, and he's not been saved. I mean, you know, if he's out, never has a president, never has a guy sitting in the White House had a greater motivation to get a second term than Donald Trump, because he's got two choices. He's got the White House or he's got the big house. And, you know, we'll see which one he winds up in.
So why do you think that he will go to the big house for, like, do you think that all of this is going to absolutely come out, like, because like the Biden stuff's coming out? You think it's going to be like a tit for tat type stuff? Because
absolutely. I mean, he is such a criminal in so many directions that it's unfathomable. And he will get himself a pardon one way or another, but the pardon is only good on the federal level. He's not able to get a pardon on the state level. In New York State, God willing, we get him out of the White House, is going to come after him, and he will be there forever. And he also, by the way, I'm 99% convinced is guilty of rape. And if they ever get a DNA sample, this one woman in New York that he apparently raped in the dressing room of a department store, she's got his DNA, just like Monica had Bill Clinton's, and we'll see about that too. Donald Trump has broken the law so many ways. I mean, why do you think he won't release his tax returns? You know, why do you think he whittled down his tax payments to $750? Donald Trump has paid more money in taxes.
Yeah, but
China.
Time out. $750. I will. You know what? This was funny, Carrie, because I thought that I was going to disagree with him a lot, and I don't. That's the funny part about this, because I do know that Donald Trump dealt with the mob. I mean, on a regular basis, because you can't pour concrete, one drop of concrete without having a meeting with one of my friend's fathers, you know, back in the day, right? I mean, I can name the names, but
Gambino.
No, it was a Gambino guy, yes, and his name was Siska. Alphonse Siska was the guy. He lived in New Jersey, though, but he ran the concrete union. And my friend Eddie Siska died of a cancer many years back, but he ran. He was one of the ones that ran it. But Trump did deal with these gangsters on a regular basis, because that's the only way that you can build a building. That's the only way. There is no legitimate way that you can build a building in New York City. There is none. It is the most corrupt, like just like LA. I mean, LA is a corrupt place, and so is New York. New York is without a doubt the most corrupt place. And when you live there, and that's why I had to get out. I mean, I had to literally get out, because I was being corrupted by all the bullshit. Right. So I agree. I'm right there with you. I mean, he dealt with criminals.
Yeah, and you know, if he's once he's out of the White House, pray God, he will be probably fitted for a nice pair of cement shoes, and because I mean, he is so in debt, and you know, they saying $200-400 million he's in debt. He never had any aptitude for business. He seems to have an aptitude for hypnotizing the media and the public, which is exactly the same aptitude that Hitler had. And beyond that, you know, there ain't much there. So we're heading into an election. This is the most important election in world history since 1933 in Germany. I mean, you can make parallels to American elections, but this is on a global scale. The world will not survive. The human race on this planet will not survive 4 more years of Donald Trump. I mean, I'm out here in California with Kerry, and the place is burning up. And, where is the military? Why isn't the military out fighting these fires? Why are we breathing this air? I feel greatly lucky to be in LA. A lot of me wanted to live in San Francisco all those years. That place is hell. You can't breathe in San Francisco now. And the whole state's burning up. The planet's frying, and all this other stuff that's going on with the environment. If we don't transfer to Solartopia, to renewable energy ASAP, we're not, as a species, we're not going to survive. And Donald Trump has no sense of that whatsoever. Couldn't care
Well,
less.
you asked why the military isn't out there fighting these fires. Like Governor Newsom is really not a smart man either, because he could easily be getting the National Guard. He could be asking Trump for help. He could be doing a lot of things, but he's even dumber. I mean, he's really dumb. And the power companies are getting richer than rich, and they can't even upgrade their systems to not burn down California. I mean,
know, it's sick. They're even burning cities like Santa Rosa, which was absolutely one of the most beautiful places on earth. It just turned to a cinder. I mean, it's outrageous. Should not be. And there's absolutely no excuse for this happening. And
and Santa Rosa just happens to be a pretty corrupt place itself.
Well, everywhere is corrupt. I mean, it's all corrupt, and we're at the end of empire.
So what do we do?
An empire. You know what I say about Trump? Trump is the karmic payback for all the horrible dictators that we have put in power in other countries. You look, imagine yourself living in Chile in 1973. You got this great guy, Salvador Allende. He was a lot like Bernie, and there he was duly elected. They're getting, social programs and beautiful social welfare stuff in there. And all of a sudden, our CIA comes in there, they kill him, and they put in this guy, Pinochet, who slaughters people, for 17 years. And the same in Iran, where we had the Shah, in Guatemala with Somoza, the Congo with Mobutu, all these places where the public like us, all we wanted was a decent social democracy, take care of people, take care of the environment, and in comes the CIA, kills these guys, put in these horrible dictators, and we think Trump is so awful. He's just like all these other dictators that we've put in power around the world. We owe the world an apology. And if we apologize between now and November 3rd, maybe we can get rid of this guy.
Yeah, but we got, okay, so I will listen to all of that, but we got Trump, and Trump was only elected because we had 8 years of robbing, corruption, and all that other shit. So
listen, I wrote this new history of the United States called The People's Spiral of U.S. History. And
right.
I finished it. I thought I finished it with Clinton, before Clinton. Then I was, I got to write about Clinton. Clinton was awful. He was a terrible president. Bush was ridiculous. I mean, Bush was just.
No, Bush was a fucking criminal, and I keep telling people that.
Yeah.
And I still don't understand why he wasn't put in fucking handcuffs.
Yeah, well, then you get Obama. Now, Obama, I have to say that Barack Obama handled the visuals, the theatrics of the presidency, as well as anybody in all of U.S. history. He's a very smart guy. There were no indictments in his administration. He didn't fool around. Michelle would have killed him.
Well,
very clean.
A big deal.
But here is a guy. Here is a guy. Before he becomes president, they give him the Nobel Prize. Why? Well, I think it was a bribe, and it didn't work.
Right.
Because they wanted him to stop the wars. And what does he do? He gets in power, and he escalates in Afghanistan. If Barack Obama had gotten us out of Afghanistan and had confronted the bankers that caused the crash of 2008, you would have never had Donald Trump. Never seen.
Never. No, you're absolutely
And
right.
I don't blame people, working people, for being horrifically angry at the Democrats. I think the Democrats are worthless. These corporate Democrats, Pelosi, Dianne Feinstein, Chuck Schumer, all these geezers who
Yep.
are running the country into the ground. They are terrible, terrible. And
Yes.
Bernie, I love. Ed Markey, 74, my age. He's fine. But it's time for the younger generation, for the AOCs of the world, and even the Kamala Harrises to come up and take over. But I don't blame working people in this country for being furious with the corporate Democrats. Bill Clinton was absolutely a terrible president. And I will tell you right now, as a lifelong lefty, I think the world would have been a better place if in 1992, George H.W. Bush, who I met, would have been reelected. He would have been his term would have been better than Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton accomplished absolutely nothing for the people of the United States. He stuck us with NAFTA. He put through that horrible drug thing. He put 600,000 people in prison. He destroyed welfare. He was not particularly good for the environment. His 8 years, the only thing that Bill Clinton did for this country was that he instigated a national dialogue on oral sex. That's the only legacy we have from Bill Clinton. And otherwise, he accomplished writing for my history book about the term of Bill Clinton was exceedingly painful. I mean, he did nothing, accomplished nothing, utterly worthless, total shuck and jive.
And then you
go ahead.
And then you go from Clinton, right?
Yeah.
Who I, as a young man, right? Like Reagan turned me a Republican, right? Only because of the abortion issue. That was why, because I was a Democrat my whole life. I always say this, but the thing is, you go from Clinton to a real, like Clinton was just shitty, right? But Bush was an actual criminal.
Yeah,
like
he was terrible. Although
the younger
Bush won. I mean, he didn't know what he was doing. I mean, he was in La La Land. I mean,
if it wasn't for Cheney, I swear,
and Karl Rove. Cheney and Karl Rove were the consiglieres.
Right.
Bush technically was the Don, but he was a Don like Fredo would have been a Don.
Right. No, exactly. No, I'm right there with you, because he was no Vito Corleone. That's for
no,
sure.
he was not. And same with Trump. I mean, Trump he's just a capo. He's a low guy. Whereas the real Don Corleone with Bush 2 was clearly Cheney. That's why they put him in there, so that there'd be an adult in the room.
Right.
But if Obama had done two things, if he had confronted Wall Street after the crash of 2008, I mean, if you want to see the most infuriating movie you'll ever see, it's The Big Short.
Oh yeah, I know. I've watched it.
I mean, you just want to throw stuff after that. And Obama comes in and he passes the stimulus bill, which was fine. And then he gets in front of the Wall Street guys and he says, I'm not going to mess with you. Just, we'll fix it. We'll give you your money and we'll slide on through. And that's what happened. And so nothing happened. And for working people, there has been except for the ACA, the Affordable Care, which is mediocre to say the least, except for that, there has been not a single piece of social legislation to help working people in this country since the 1960s. And we've had nothing to help working people. Wages have stagnated. Cost of living has gone up. There's no more American dream. And the governments, the administrations of the United States, since Lyndon Johnson went to the dark side, have been zero. And nothing. What can you point to what social legislation since the Great Society can you point to except for Obamacare, which I think needs to go anyway? And
Well, that's what
we have
me
to
and
kind of
Carrie, we have a back and forth because I think that ACA should be overturned only because, and not for anything else, not because I'm a conservative or whatever. I think that it should be overturned so that there's a better, stronger. The same thing with Roe v. Wade and a Roe versus, Doe versus
abortion.
Bolton.
All
They
right,
should.
so if you're against abortion, which is fine with me, I don't like abortion either, and I can understand a religious position. I mean, I think abortion needs to be legal, if not for no other than the First Amendment, because
No, so do I. Oh no, I'm not going to argue that point. I think that the law needs to be overturned and a real legislative. The Congress should do their job and stop being lazy fucks and actually put a law on the books that can't be played with the Supreme Court or with lawyers or with anything. Make it a real law. Every single time any justice comes to bear, right? It's always, oh, they're going to shoot down Roe versus Wade. They're going to shoot. Why? If it's not if it doesn't have, super precedent, then why not shoot it down and then build a better one?
well, if you want, it's not a question whether abortion is legal or illegal. Having abortion illegal is a terrible thing for people of color and non-millionaires. People with
Right.
money
I don't want it to be
get an
illegal.
abortion if they
I
want.
don't want it.
The
I don't want it to be.
organization that has prevented more abortions than any other organization in human history, and I've studied this historically, is Planned Parenthood. Planned Parenthood provides a contraception and provides sex education. Those are the two major preventives of abortion. If you really are against abortion, you don't make it illegal. You support Planned Parenthood because they make it possible for young women to avoid pregnancy. That's what it's all about. I mean, I studied Margaret Sanger. She started birth control.
Yeah, but the
her mother
history
died.
of it, though.
Her mother kept getting pregnant, and she had like 12 children, and the mother was exhausted, didn't want to get pregnant anymore. She goes to the doctor, and the doctor says, "Well, have your husband sleep on the roof." That's the brilliant solution. So then she provides birth control. She provides sex education. They tried to throw her in prison, but nonetheless, Planned Parenthood has been the most successful anti-abortion institution in the history of the world. And making abortion illegal does not stop abortions. It just means people are going to die. And so I don't understand how right-wingers can oppose abortion and at the same time oppose sex education and oppose contraception. That is crazy. It's absolute psychosis.
Well, and I don't oppose any of that. I just want a better law, a better, to have the law so that we don't keep fighting about it. Make abortion the law of the land, but stop being bitchy about it and make it the fucking law. Yeah. And that's it. Don't have a conniption fit every single time a Republican president, nominates a Supreme Court justice.
This Supreme Court justice, the problem we have, and let's talk about this abortion election, which isn't threatening to be an abortion.
Or an abomination.
Yeah, and it's an abomination. I mean, there are a number of things about this election that are very important to understand on the plus side. Weirdly enough, because of the COVID, we are having an election that's almost entirely conducted on paper ballots. And that is a great thing. Because when I was in Ohio in 2004 in Columbus, I saw the election stolen on those touchscreen machines. And people would go in and I teamed up with a guy who's got a PhD.
I was there.
Yeah. Well, Bob Fitrakis, my co-writer, has a PhD in political science, and he was actually in El Salvador in the 80s protecting elections. And people would go in and they push Kerry on the screen, and Bush would light up. And they keep pushing Kerry, and Bush would light up. Or they'd push Kerry, they'd fill it out, and they go back up, and it's blank. So we are not having this election mostly on computers. We're having it on paper, which is a great thing. And I also strongly support vote by mail if we have a post office, which would be nice. But so the great thing is 80 to 90% of the balloting this year is going to be on paper. Very, very good. Now, of course, Trump has gone in, tried to destroy as much of the postal service as he could. They're scrunching the deadlines so that they eliminate a lot of votes coming in, which is ridiculous, totally partisan. We see the Trump people out there intimidating voters, all sorts of hanky-panky going on. I have been working on this since 2004. My buddy Greg Palast wrote about the election in 2000 in Florida. So we know that the election needs to be cleaned up. We also know, but paper ballots will help us. Going forward makes a big deal. We also know that this is a generational changeover, and that the generation of the millennials, of which I have 4, are taking over. I have 4 daughters who are millennials, and they are taking over. And in the coming elections, the increasing majority of voters will be millennials. And they are generally far less racist, far less prejudiced about LGBTQ, far more open to females in office. I am a strong supporter of women running the show. I will tell you that there's clear statistical proof that the countries run by women have been far more astute and efficient in coping with the COVID than the countries run by men. If you look at the US, Brazil, Russia, those countries have done a terrible job of coping with the virus, as opposed to Germany, New Zealand, Denmark, Iceland, Finland. Those countries run by women, far less death rate, far less spread of the COVID. So actually, in this election, the key person is Kamala Harris, because she could, if Biden wins, God willing, and actually becomes president, she will be president sooner rather than later. I'm 74. I don't see this 77-year-old geezer hanging out for another 4 years. She will be president.
Well, do you feel that Pelosi trying to do the bring the 25th Amendment to Congress is in
it's too late.
A pretext to Biden, because I just feel like Biden is just the silhouette, and they want Kamala Harris as the president.
They don't want Trump. Trump is mentally ill. I mean, he's completely nuts.
And you don't think Biden is either?
No, I don't. I think Biden is old. I mean, I'm old. I know it
right. Okay.
He's older. He's even older. It's interesting, though. In the last debate, there were moments where you could have said that he was losing at Biden, but in fact, he does stutter, and that was a really.
So do I. But I mean.
Well, there you go. I mean, and I had a very, very close friend who had a really serious stutter. He was a brilliant guy. And so all that stuff that came out about Biden, he held it through the 90 minutes of the election, of the debate, but he did stutter. And it was very interesting to be warned that he would stutter and to take that into account. I think Donald Trump is a criminal psychopath. I think he's an extremely dangerous person. Even if he was a Democrat, even if he was a liberal, he should not be in the White House. This guy
was a Democrat, and he was a liberal for years.
His father was a Klansman. And you got to remember that Donald Trump was essentially raised by Roy Cohn, the mob lawyer, who had these guys are completely amoral. They have absolutely no ethics, no principles, no morality, zero empathy, zero compassion. I mean, just like Hitler, these guys absolutely could not care if you drop dead as long as they make $5. I mean, Donald Trump is completely devoid of any human connection. He is a really sick dude. And
So then why? Okay, so let's go with that. Let's go with that because why? Then why one was he elected, and why do people feel so strongly that he can fix what they believe that Obama and Biden broke?
because the Democrats are terrible.
No,
And
well, right, like
they
that.
are. They're
So
terrible.
we
The corporate Democrats have been miserable. And like I say, Obama handled the theatrics of the presidency beautifully, but he got nothing done for working people. Nothing has been done for working people in this country for 50, almost 60 years. And working people are pissed. They should be. There's no health care. Obamacare is, a mixed bag. Other than that, there's no health care. There's no guarantees.
They keep saying 20 million people. They keep saying 20 million people aren't going to have health care, but there's 180 and there's 200,000 a million people that do have health care. Like I had a health share, and now I went back to.
Yeah, but let me tell you something. I have Medicare. Medicare is great. Everybody should have Medicare. Absolutely, everybody should have Medicare. Everybody should have Social Security.
Yeah, but all the doctors hate Medicare.
Well, not all of them, but and let them hate them. I don't care. They're doctors. They make a lot of money. They can hate Medicare all they want. We need Medicare for everybody. Bernie had it right. That's why people love Bernie. Bernie's like me. I mean, we haven't changed our politics since 1965. He and I both believe the same things we believed way back then. I mean, he's an old new leftist, is what Bernie is, and that's why they love him, because he stands for what he stands for. Same with Ed Markey. So this is clear stuff, and I don't blame people for being hating the Democrats. I really have tremendous contempt for Pelosi and Clinton. I've met both Clintons. I mean, they are awful, and Steny Hoyer and Schumer. I can't stand to look at Schumer. But there these guys are. They got to get out of the way. So Trump, is entertaining to people, but I find him an abomination. He's a very dangerous guy, completely unhinged, zero capability. People say, "Oh, he's this great businessman." If he'd have taken what he inherited from his father and put him in CDs, he'd have tons more money than he has now. He wouldn't be beholden to the Russian mob. He wouldn't have built all these ridiculous buildings, which are money losers. He's losing money on all his golf courses, all his hotels. He's in debt. He's a criminal.
I'm going to jump in here, sort of at the finish line. Normally, I'm much more threaded throughout these conversations, but this has been pure joy for me to watch. Pure joy. So I did not want to bugger the pooch here. But interestingly enough, to everybody's point, the first wife of Donald John Trump, the core of her divorce suit against him was that he was reading in bed from his nightstand Hitler's second book. His second book? What do you mean his second book? Yes, Meine Neue Ordnung, My New Order.
Right.
This second book, after Mein Kampf, was all of Hitler's speeches that he had taken from 1916 all the way up to 1929, published into a book and annotated them. You can find this on Amazon for about $150. Yeah. Annotated these speeches and said, when you say this, the crowd does that. If you really want to make a bunch of people do something, say it this many times and say it like that. And he was reading that and practicing it in bed. And she came from Eastern Europe and didn't find it so charming. And it wasn't a one-time thing. It was an all-the-time thing. Oh, yeah. And we know this specifically from Professor Bert Newborn, who survived Auschwitz or Treblinka or somewhere and is 93 now and has really laid all of this out, and how much of this has now become policy. Whether you're caging children or carving uteruses out of women down on the border, Mengele type stuff. All of this speaks to why she could no longer marry this guy. It speaks to who he really is. It doesn't mean he's the worst guy that ever lived, but I would not want my 14-year-old daughter alone in a room with him because her pussy would get grabbed. I'm convinced.
Absolutely. And, the main difference in terms of morals and ethics and worldview between Donald Trump and Adolf Hitler is that Hitler spoke better German. That's the basic thing. And
Yes, he did.
He did. He spoke better German. And he was probably a little more intelligent than Trump, although not that much. The Third Reich didn't run that well either. And this guy, Donald Trump, is a hollow shell. He is absolutely void of any human connection. And he is actually not the worst president of the United States. We can go into this in another show. The worst president actually was Woodrow Wilson.
Okay, this is a great place to end because we are out of time.
Oh,
I do want to just say one thing, because I used to work kind of for Trump. Okay, I used to work. I was the trainer for Miss Ohio, Miss Maine, Miss Michigan, and Miss Utah.
All the swing states.
Yeah. So right. So I was training the blue wall when, but I used to, I was involved and I got to see him, a lot. And a lot of people, there were many women that were, there, and he never ever did that. I was literally around him. And I just want to say that if you felt like that, I was there, and I would have literally knocked his ass the fuck out. And I'm not kidding. I mean, there was no security guard that could beat me. And I'm not kidding. So if that would have happened.
You didn't see all of it. And there are
I didn't. No, I didn't.
20 women have accused him of imposition, including at least one of outright rape. And if he wants to clear himself of that charge, he should just make his DNA available, because she's got what she claims is his. You guys are great, by the way. This has been really tremendous, Rocco and Carrie. I've really enjoyed this. And but
we love guys like you, man. We love guys like you.
Yeah.
Well, we're talking
really
just
smart.
before Election Day. People got to protect this election. I have a website that we've been working with to protect the election from theft. It's called grassrootsep.org, grassrootsep.org, and you can write me directly. You can use my email. I will send you a PDF of my history book. But we're just a couple days away from Armageddon here, and we cannot handle, this planet and this democracy cannot handle 4 more years of Donald Trump. So whatever it takes within a nonviolent framework, we got to protect this election.
That's Dr. Harvey Wasserman, who's also author of Solartopia, Our Green-Powered Earth, introduced by Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Harvey Wasserman's History of the U.S., a book that Rocco himself read when he was in school, introduced by none other than Howard Zinn. A Glimpse of the Big Light, Losing Parents, Finding Spirits, introduced by Marianne Williamson. And the latest novel, America's Gay Pot-Smoking Founders and Their Fantastic Psychedelic Adventures with Thomas Paine. I'm Gary Harrison with the Two Rebels, joined elegantly and exquisitely and verbally this episode mostly by Rocco Castellano.
Thank you, Carrie. It's always a pleasure being in the presence of awesome intelligence.
The Two Rebels. The Two Rebels. That's the number 2. The2rebels.com. Don't actually spell it. The number. Got it? The2rebels.com.
Attention Medicare customers with diabetes. Now you can stop the painful pricking of your fingers with a continuous glucose monitor. And they're covered by Medicare if you qualify. Call right now for free information.